Now, submission and headship. Now, two different roles in a relationship. Talk to us about this is Olabisi Olasoetan, who is a certified emotional intelligence marriage coach and an NLP practitioner, and the founder of Secret Place Husband Platform. And she's joining us this morning to talk about this issue of submission. It's a thorny issue now. You know, in the old days, it was easy for people to be able to carefully define husband and wife roles. So whether it was traditional or religious, and you know, Muslim, Christian, everybody knew that women were subservient to men at the time. And so you had this kneel down for your man. Even in wedding ceremonies, you would kneel down and feed the man. But those concepts are changing in the 21st century. And now women are stepping up and they're, you know, challenging that concept of submission. Talk to us.
Well, the question would be, why are they challenging the concepts? Women are not just rising up all of a sudden to challenge what they used to. The idea is that the realities have changed. So in the past, like you said, traditionally, a man would go work, provide for the family fully, while the woman is home to take care of the children. So it makes sense that she would do all that without questioning the authority, and the man would gladly also provide. But now it's a bit, you know, different. You find that women are working full-time, mothers are working full-time, and they still have to come back home and cater to the family. So, of course, that naturally breeds a sort of rebellion that says, you know what, the realities have changed, so roles should be adjusted a bit. And I find that many women are willing to submit. You know, we just have, like, many men stuck up in that place where, you know what, they know what to expect in terms of their leadership at home. And that is being distorted because of new realities. So, you know, there's a lot of adjustments.
Now that we're addressing new realities, it's almost like someone who has been in a position of authority for the longest time, and they're used to it. So talking about the men now, and then suddenly women are stepping up financially, taking responsibilities and all of that. But it then seems like the men, a lot of men are not, they're finding it hard to adjust to the new realities in terms of the home itself. Now, what would you say in a home where it looks like there's some friction in this area, where the woman is stepping up and might be a bit rebellious, like you're saying?
I find that the reason why men, well, some men, not all men, are finding it difficult to adjust is because we have sacrificed the true meaning of what manhood should look like, what leadership should look like, on the altar of physical strength, ability to provide. So we have sacrificed things like emotional stability, you know, emotional control and intelligence, and generally good nurture under the altar of nature. You know, just that physical strength and ability to provide. So in the place where a woman is not even, not unsubmissive, she's just asking for some understanding, you know, and where the man would display humility, which doesn't take away from his leadership, you find that the man begins to get insecure, almost like his leadership is being threatened. So a little understanding, especially as we raise boys now, who are going to be the new generation of men in the future, we need to define what leadership truly means. What does manhood truly means? And if you're going to state that a man should be the head of the home, what does that look like practically in dealing with another human being who is supposed to be your equal?
I like that, you know, that you're going in this direction, because a lot of times what you then find is people can then use scripture to try to justify oppression, for instance.
Absolutely. So religious people do
exactly. So, but you're saying now that in a marriage or in a relationship, the two are equals. Is that what you're saying?
Well, like we discussed last week, equality is a bit complicated in a marriage. If you're thinking about equality as 50-50, I do this, then you must do that, then there's going to be a problem. But if we are talking about competencies in terms of interests, you know, self-respect, mutual respect, and the element of a proper relationship, then you will find that equality is not this strange idea that we cannot achieve.
Now, I want us to talk about the issue of submission itself and address women, right? So sometimes maybe 5-10 years ago, you married a very traditional man, right? And things have changed. You become exposed, you're on social media, you're hearing what other women are saying, you've traveled here and there, you've moved on in your career. So your perspectives to life have changed as well. And it could affect your marriage if you're a woman, because the man hasn't changed, but you have changed. So what would you say to such a woman?
Ideally, sometimes those causes, you need wisdom, and it has to be a matter of priority. What is more important to you? Some people don't mind separating from such people. I've moved ahead. You're unable to join me on this course, so they separate. But the most important thing is for people who are about to get married. It doesn't matter at what stage you are, whether you believe this or that. There must be a conversation around what do we believe? What is your vision about this? If you change, what do we do? If I change, what do I do? Once we have that conversation and make sure that the important element, like the ability to listen to your partner when they speak, things like humility, once you can find that in your partner, it doesn't matter what change comes around in the future. Even the man can change himself, and the woman would have to be the one to come up higher and understand. But those important elements, humility, vulnerability, intimacy, communication, those are the real things that needs to be in place.
Now, in a relationship, like we're talking about men and women and, in a marriage and they're growing, and there are certain people who maybe they come from a very traditional background.
Yeah.
Maybe both of them. Husband and wife, maybe in a Muslim home or even in a Christian home as well, where you see that the roles are very carefully defined. Yeah. How would you relate that in a modern world? So how will you deal with, say, younger people that are coming up? So we're very traditional. We have our children coming up, they're very exposed. What kind of knowledge we transfer to them, the boys and the girls?
Well, like I said, we have to define what leadership looks like for the boys. And especially as they grow over the years, you have to show that the roles in marriage, in a home generally, are not necessarily gender specific. We should look out for interests, competencies, and generally what will make them better and what they can do by themselves for their own well-being. So in place of cooking, it shouldn't be just that the ladies go into the kitchen and the boys go wash the daddy's car. Sometimes the girl may want to be the one to wash the daddy's car and the boy wants to go into the kitchen. So parents need to be mindful of these stereotypes and how we frame definitions for the young ones. And that way, I think, the future is brighter.
Okay, so women are watching now and they're asking, okay, so Olabisi Olasoetan has not answered the question. Yeah. Should we submit? Should we kneel down to serve the husband? Because it gets down to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see arguments online and people are upset by. So you have feminists who are upset by women who are submissive.
Yeah.
And they say you shouldn't be doing that. This is the 21st century. What would you say to try and balance this argument?
Well, for religious people, if you're a Christian or a Muslim, for instance, and you believe in submission, you don't believe in submission because you want to kneel down for a man. You willingly submit, you willingly yield to another person's authority, largely because of your obedience to God. So it will be a bit dicey for me to just answer specifically and say, don't submit, because beliefs differ. But if you are not religious, I would still say that in a relationship, there's something called the status dynamic. And, somebody tries to put themselves over. And as you relate with each other, you will find opportunities to submit to one another. And I think that's what we should be on the lookout for. Mutual respect, where if your husband says to you, this is how I want to go, define him in that moment. Let me not use the word define. Disagreeing in that moment without necessarily validating his opinion, because if he says he wants to do something, he has a reason. He may be ignorant, but you cannot say that is wrong. So it's important that in conversation, validate what he says and then bring your own up. What usually happens is that we want to be right, so we think we are right and we push the other's opinion aside.
Wow, Olabisi Olasoetan, well, this is a conversation that is just starting. I
Absolutely.
feel like
there's
a lot more questions that people want to ask.
I agree.
And all of that, but thank you so much for joining us
I agree.
this morning. Stay with us. The show comes back after this.